Wonderful. Well, welcome again to the Hill Duvernay and Associates webcast. My name is Nicole Carr, and as always, we are excited to have managing partner Candace Alyn Hill Duvernay with us tonight.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming.
So this webcast is really exciting because it is titled Your Holiday Gift, right?
Yes. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.
So the holiday gift is basically that we sent out newsletters on the Facebook page, a request for people just to submit whatever legal related questions they had, and we got a collection of them with us, and you're gonna answer them.
Yes, I'm going to do the best I can. As always, this is not a substitute for actually going to see a lawyer or, going and actually hiring a lawyer. But it's just a way to get your mind thinking about some legal issues.
Yeah. So no, she said that in a really nice way, but that was a disclaimer.
Exactly. I love it.
All right. So I guess the first thing before I really jump into the questions that we got from different people who submitted it. Oh, yes. First things first. Housekeeping, I guess. The Q&A section is open.
Yes.
So those of you who are watching live, even though we have these questions that have been submitted, if you submit them through the Google Plus application, we will read those and get to them as well. So feel free as you're watching, if all of a sudden you have a question come to mind or you weren't able to submit it in advance, to go ahead and submit that via the app. Also, the second thing we should talk about are your practice areas.
Right.
And which questions, you can actually submit and which ones will be
Don't
answering.
send me questions about real estate. I cannot answer them.
Yeah.
I practice criminal defense, personal injury. I do estate planning, so that's wills and powers of attorney. And I also do personal injury and family law.
Yep. So the questions that we did get in advance, I went ahead and actually segmented them by subject. So I'll let you know kind of where it falls in the practice area.
I love it. I love it.
All right. So the first question is actually going to be under criminal law.
Okay.
And the writer asks, after I'm arrested, what can I expect to occur with my case? Good question.
That's a very loaded question, but everybody wants to know. Most people who come to my doorstep are not career criminals. They're not people that are getting arrested every day, every week. Many times this is their first time ever being in trouble with the law ever. And so they don't know what to expect after arrest. And so that's actually a loaded question, but I'm going to try to answer it as easy as possible. The first thing, there's preliminary hearings. So when you get arrested, the judge has to find probable cause for you to actually have the case go forward. So there's been a lot of buzz in the media about probable cause hearings and how to get an indictment or an accusation. Well, that's what we have in Georgia through a preliminary hearing. Okay. The bar is actually very low, even though it doesn't seem like it based on recent events. The bar is actually very low to get an indictment or to get an accusation. So from there, you have your very first court date, which is called an arraignment date. That's where you go before the judge and you say, I want to plead guilty or not guilty. And that's also where you ask if you want a jury trial, which is a trial before a jury of your peers, or a bench trial. That's bench, B-E-N-C-H. I'm a little country, so I'm not cussing. A bench trial in front of a judge. And you just make that assertion at that time. From there, you're a lawyer. Should you hire one, and everybody should get a lawyer. Please do not go to court, especially criminal court, without a lawyer. Your lawyer will start to do discovery phases. So that's where they're trying to see what happened in your case. Are there police videos? Are there audio recordings? Are there written statements? That's the discovery phase. From there, we get motions. So if a police officer did something wrong, if there was some evidence that wasn't properly obtained, then we have a motions hearing. And motions are not done in every case, but occasionally, like DUI cases, drug cases, some cases where clients give confessions, we'll have a motions hearing to try to exclude that evidence. Okay. After the motions hearing, then you either going to do one or two things. Well, three, if you're blessed. One or two definite. You're either going to plead or you're going to have a trial. Okay, so plea is just that you negotiate terms, whether it be pay a fine for something minor or jail time for something more serious, or in the middle, there's probation. There could also be a trial where you say, I don't want to do anything but go before a jury of my peers and have somebody find me guilty or not guilty. The third option would be to get your case dismissed. Mm-hmm. And I always laugh because everybody comes to my office and they say, Ms. Duvernay, you know what I want? I say, I know what you want. You want your case dismissed. So obviously, if we can't get a dismissal, your case will either go to trial or go to a plea. And that's usually where I am. I don't do appellate work. Worst case scenario, you do have the option of appealing down the line. But as far as with my firm, the case will stop either with a plea or with a trial.
Okay. All right, great. You jumped right in there with that one.
I know so much. People want to know.
All right, so I'm going to switch topics every once in a while here. So a family law question. What is the difference between uncontested and contested divorce?
Okay. And that question may seem simple enough, but people often come to us and say, I want to get a divorce. And I ask them, is it contested or uncontested? Oh, we both want it. So it's uncontested. Well, no, that's not really what that means. Okay. For my purposes, I don't mean do both of you all want the divorce. I mean, and the courts want to know, are you all agreeing as to how you're going to divide your property, if you have property? How are you going to divide your debts? If you have children, obviously you're not dividing your children, but custody, mm-hmm. Child support, those kind of things. If you're in agreement with all of those things, that is uncontested.
Okay.
You see, you're not contesting the matter. Mm-hmm. You're not contesting anything surrounding it.
Gotcha.
Contested means just that. You want this, I want that. You want her, I want him. You want the cat, I want the dog. Mm-hmm. Or wait, no, you want the cat,
and I want the cat.
That's where it gets kind of tricky. That's where it gets kind of heavy. And as you know, we do mediation. So even though it's contested, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go in front of a judge. But that does mean there's going to be a little more work involved because the parties are not necessarily saying, sign me up, I'm ready to go and move on.
Okay. And this is a side question. It's just a follow-up for me. But what, I guess you can't really give a percentage, but do people usually come in and think it's uncontested, but it is? Or do you find a lot of uncontested?
I find, honestly, yes. There are a lot of uncontested divorces. There are some people who, and like I said, it doesn't mean that you can actually be splitting up property and dividing clothes and debts, but it's still uncontested because you all agree on how to get it done. You're not contentious. Mm-hmm. So we do have a lot of uncontested divorces. We also get some people who think it's uncontested, and then one party or another says, no, I want this or I want that. So we do find a lot of times people come thinking it's going to be uncontested, and it spirals into a contested matter. We're going to talk a lot more about divorces and things like that. As you all may or may not know, I have a counsel attorney, Anyama Ferry, and she handles our contested divorce matters. So you all will get to meet her in the next webcast, and we'll go a little more in depth about it. But to answer that question, it's not as simple as people think. Are we going to agree on how to split the baby, to use the old biblical proverb, yeah. Or are we going to have to fight it out?
Okay. All right. That's a good one, too. All right. So the next one is a personal injury question. It says, do I need to use a lawyer to settle my personal injury claim?
That's always interesting. So obviously I'm a lawyer. I never advocate or advise anybody who can't afford it to go into the legal system without an attorney. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do marketing on my own. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I have you. I wouldn't go to the doctor, or I would not try to do surgery on my own. Even though I can Google it, go to YouTube, there's all these free resources. I wouldn't go at it alone. So do you need a lawyer? No. Should you have one? I would say yes, especially in a personal injury claim. Most of those cases, you're not paying any money up front. So unlike a criminal case or family law case or any other kind of case where you have to pay the lawyer up front, with most personal injury claims, you're not paying a lawyer until the very end out of the settlement. So you really don't lose anything except for maybe your money goes a little bit smaller. But this is what I've seen people come to me who try to go at it alone against insurance companies. They're fighting with the insurance company. The insurance company sends them something that's a settlement. They're excited. They don't realize that's like the lowest of the low of the low, Or you have people who the insurance company hands them a gold mine, but they think it's nothing because their cousin got something 10 times better. And so you really don't have a really good understanding of whether or not you're making the right decisions for yourself with your claim. Also, I just think a lot of times insurance companies take lawyers more seriously. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fair.
So yes, you may have to give me or another lawyer a percentage of your settlement, but the likelihood is that you're going to get a lot more than you would have gotten had you gone at it your own. And we don't guarantee you what you're going to get, obviously, but I would never advise, and that's just because I'm a lawyer, but I would never advise anybody to go into the legal system without an attorney.
Yeah. No, that's fair. You made a lot of good points, especially that the insurance companies can take it more seriously.
Right.
And of course, I mean, you hire people for their expertise.
Right.
And everyone can't be an expert in everything.
Right.
So that makes sense. All right. So next is going to fall under trust and estates.
Okay.
All right. And this question says, when is the best time to draft a will?
These questions are so loaded. But it's good though, because these are things that people are thinking about. So Merry Christmas to you. In terms of drafting a will, I would say it really just depends on where you are in life. If you're a college student with no kids, no assets, nothing really, I would not say go ahead and get a lawyer to draft a will. However, you may be a single person who owns a home, or you may be a married person who has a child. You may not own any property, but you have a child that you want to make sure, obviously you can't leave your child to somebody. It's not property. But you want to make sure that people understand what your wishes are in terms of who you want to take care of your children, things of that nature. Or we're both sorority girls. You may have personal property that's so special to you, you don't want to just leave it up to chance. So for instance, I have this great wealth of Delta Sigma Theta sorority memorabilia. Go Deltas. I don't want to just leave it up for you or the rest of the line to steal. I want my sister.
Which would happen.
Right. I want my sister to have it. So even though I don't have, well, I do have a home and things like that, but even if I didn't have a lot of those other things, because that stuff is so important to me, I want to make sure that it's taken care of. So I guess the best way to answer that question would be, if you have any part of your life that you want to make sure is clearly handled or taken care of after your demise, you need a will. Whether it's property related, debt related, money related, children, things of that nature, you need a will. And that doesn't matter if you're single, married, gay, straight, whatever, you need one.
Or age.
Or age, exactly. We do a lot of wills with people who we've recently had to do a couple of people who are very, very sick. And it's a lot harder for them to think clearer about things. And they're just thinking about the end of the road. So I know my parents got a will done when I was first born. So it's good while you can think about it. It's not as expensive as you might think. Don't do LegalZoom or some of those things you see on the, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. But take the extra money and hire a lawyer, because it's not as expensive as you would think to have the peace of mind that you've done something right.
And that was interesting for me when you just said, dealing with those who are already sick. I can only imagine having to then be sick and going through a struggle, having to think about how am I going to divvy up my assets.
Exactly.
It's not pleasant, and nor does it help if you're trying to go through recovery or anything like that. So yeah, no, that makes sense to go ahead and get it done well.
And that brings up a good point, that you have to have the mental capacity to do it. So the people I mentioned earlier, they had their mental capacity, but they were just physically incapacitated. But if you wait too late and you're so fatigued, or you have dementia or something like that, then it will be a lot harder for a lawyer who is being ethical to draft a will, because we don't know if you really are following your true wishes or not. So I encourage everybody, we have a free worksheet that we give to anybody who asks. You just send us an email. We send you a worksheet saying, hey, these are some things to think about. And whenever you're ready, you give us a call. We've given out literally hundreds of them. And people have said, they may not come back for a couple of years or a couple of months. They've said, this has really helped me think about what I want to do in my future. So I would really encourage people who have either property, children, assets, or just personal wishes when they die. I would encourage them to really reach out to us. We'll do the contact information at the end to get that pre-estate planning worksheet, because it just gives you peace of mind.
Right. Okay, that was good.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to go back up to criminal law.
Okay.
And this one is, how do I know, I guess when it comes to a criminal case, I almost broaden it because it can go for any of these, but how do I know which lawyer to choose?
Okay, that's a good question. Mm-hmm. Because we, as you know, we're celebrating 5 years of being in law. Mm-hmm. When I first started, people would say, I don't want you, you're a baby boy. And it's like, okay, you know, but I'm fresh out of law school. I'm writing the books. I'm reading the up-to-date language. I'm doing this and doing that. I would say look less at a lawyer's time that they're practicing, because there are a lot of lawyers who are practicing 30, 40 years who are burnt out, and they don't know the new law. They don't know anything else. I would look at the way the lawyer makes you feel. Do you feel comfortable with their knowledge base? So if you ask them questions, can they answer those questions? And not necessarily off the bat quickly, but do they know where to get the answer? Do they have legal resources? Do they have research materials? Do they have books? Do they have mentors that they partner with to help? The reason I've been so blessed and been so successful is not only my faith in God, but He's led me to join forces with awesome attorneys, men and women who have gone before me. So when you get me, I tell people, you're not just getting me, you get a wealth of knowledge, you know. So you want to look at that. Don't do what a lot of people do. Price.
Right.
Which I know we shop around for everything. I got a nice little bag over there.
It's so hard to say that.
It's hard to say it, but I liken it to surgery. You're not going to be shopping around. If you have cancer and there is a surgeon who is the best of the best and you can get it done, it may be tight, you're going to go with that surgeon because it's your life. Mm-hmm. Same thing for you're facing jail time, you're facing your children, you're facing a lot of other things. Now, don't just go with anybody who's high price for the sake of being high price. Mm-hmm. Certainly shop around, but don't just pick the bargain basement. Mm-hmm. Now, have I done things for very, very cheap and done very, very well? Yes. Have other people charged a lot of money and done wrong? Yes. But in the same breath, I feel like do your research. If you look at our website, and it's not just a plug for me, but I'm just saying in general, we have a lot of testimonials. You know, a lot of people come to us because we help their cousin or their grandma or their uncle or their bouquet. You know, so that's one thing to consider, testimonials, their reputation in the community. Other lawyers send us a lot of cases, you know, and just talk to us. I mean, do a consultation. Some lawyers offer free consultations, some do not. But just talk to the lawyer and decide if it's a good fit for you. Mm-hmm. Some lawyers are going to be at your beck and call. Others are not going to call you unless they have an update. If you're a person who needs a daily update, that's going to have you going crazy, you know. So I would just say, price is not necessarily the best thing, but try to shop around because you want to be in your budget. I want you to look at somebody's expertise level, not necessarily their years in the game, but their expertise, because I do only these 4 practice areas. I'm not doing this in real estate, you know, I'm doing this. So look at their expertise area and just see their reputation in the community, whether with clients or other attorneys. And that's a good start.
Yeah, that's great. And I agree with you on that's one of those you don't go by price.
Right, which is hard because with anything, my shoes, my bags, my groceries, my clothes, but if you liken it to a surgeon or if you liken it to something as serious as that, it does take the sting out of, okay, well, let me not, you know?
Yeah, well, I think there's it's like 2 levels, you know, it's serious as surgery, but then anything that's really close or important to you,
right?
You know, you'll invest some time in, and you'll look. It has to be well rounded,
right?
So even if you're looking for a job, you don't just go off of price. What's the culture like? You know, who are you working with?
Exactly.
Like you said, you know, it's going to be a relationship. Y'all are going to have to be really close partners, while you go through this, and it's already challenging if you're having to go to court or you're facing, you know, some criminal issues. Why would you want to have a problem with your attorney at the same time?
Exactly. Somebody you don't know, you don't trust, you don't mesh well with. And there's so many lawyers out there. Like I said, I'm not the only one. I often refer cases out. I mean, so if somebody comes to me and it's something that's not in my, not necessarily even if it's a criminal case, but it's not my bag of tea or my cup of tea. Bag of chips. Cup of tea. Yeah, I'll refer it out, you know, to somebody that may be a better fit. So don't be afraid to ask those questions.
That's really good to know too. That's good. All right, so we're back to family law.
All right.
So this question is, and it's actually one of the recent ones that came in right before we went on the air, and I was so excited to see it. I was like, wow, this I don't know the answer, and I really want to know as well. I don't have any kids, but it was intriguing. Okay, so it says, they asked, if I don't have custody of my child, but I pay child support, can I claim my child on my taxes?
We get this question all the time, particularly this time of year, January, February, tax time. The answer is no. Long and short, no way you slice the pie. No matter what the judge lets you do, no matter what the mediator signs, the IRS will not require a non-custodial parent to receive part of the tax benefits. And that's true even if you receive or if you pay child support. So we have that a lot of times where parents are having custody and they're doing visitation and they're paying child support and they're very active. And the other parent may agree, okay, you take 1 year, I take 1 year, or you do this and you do that. The only way to really do that would be if the parent themselves gives you that cut of money, which you may have that good relationship and get it done. But as far as the IRS being required to cut a check to you because you agreed to it, that's not going to happen.
Wow.
So there's a Merry Christmas to you, because I know several of you out there might be trying to call and say, hey, I want this, I want that. Now, there are other ways to kind of help with your child support and things like that and get you some credits, you know, for your child support for things you're doing. And you may want to revisit how the child support amount was put in place. But getting a tax credit is not necessarily going to be one.
Okay. Well, since we're on this vein of topic, I'm just going to roll into the next family law question because I think it partnered well with what you just said. So, you know, I can't claim my child, but can I get my child support amount changed?
Okay, modifications. We often, and we do a lot of child support modifications. And really, the answer is yes. So every 2 years, by law, you can have your child support amount. Now, you don't have children, but I'll talk to you all. You can have your child support amount revisited by the courts. Now, you can go a little sooner than 2 years if there has been a substantial change in circumstances that can result in a parent losing a job or gaining a job, a parent getting a raise, a parent getting a pay cut. That can result in a child's substantial change. So we have children, a lot of times what we're seeing a lot is child support is put in as soon as the baby is born. Baby's born, you go into child support services. Well, now the baby's in high school or middle school, they're no longer getting child care that was considered when they initially did the child support amount. Now, granted, that's 5 years down the line. But let's just say 2 years or a year and a half down the line, the baby goes from daycare to being at home with the mom. Well, that's a bill that was accounted for that made your child support amount be a certain level. Well, now that change is huge enough in income and that amount would be changed so much that that's not considered, then you can't go to the courts and say, hey, I would like a modification based on those grounds. So how to get it changed, you have to go through formally. I know sometimes we have had clients come in with a written, my baby mama said I can pay this much. Well, that's not going to really be enforceable. Now, we can always type up something and make it a lot less contested. It could be uncontested modifications where your daughter's mother or your son's mother or your daughter's father or son's father says, yes, I do agree to the modification. We can do that without having to go to court in terms of going before a judge. But you do have to get a court order to get the child support amount officially changed. That's very important for people who may be modifying stuff and maybe paying a little bit less under the table. If your other party gets mad and you haven't been paying the right amount, you could be in trouble. And I'm sure you have friends who are like, I'll just give her, they said $500, but I give her $350. Well, if she gets mad and you've been doing the $350 for several months, you now owe several $100s and they're going to be looking at that.
Wow. Okay.
So it's just better, as we always talk about, be on the up and up. Just get it done.
Just get it done right. Yeah. Okay. All right, great. Okay, so all those went together. So that was good.
Yes. I like this.
Have to do this annually.
Yes.
Or you'll have to make a consultation appointment.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so the next one is a personal injury.
Okay.
And this person asked, Should I go to a chiropractor or a physical therapist after my accident?
People always ask me that. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you. But the reason we get this question all the time is people who are doing right have hired their attorney and they want to make sure that they're not doing anything to mess up their claim. I think we wrote a blog about 6 things to do. I think 6 or 7 things to consider after an accident. Yep. And part of it is following your doctor's care. But that means whatever the doctor orders. So let's say you go to a doctor after your accident and they say you don't need to do any physical therapy. Well, don't do any physical therapy. Or they may say you need to go to a chiropractor and a physical therapist, then you would do that. Some people need surgery, you know. I think people ask that question. In my mind, they think it's going to make a difference in terms of the amount that they receive at the end of the day. And my experience has been, as long as you're seeing a reputable doctor and following the orders of a doctor, that you should be fine, whether it's a chiropractor or a physical therapist. Okay. What you don't want to do is just start going to any doctor that you want to go to because you feel like that's what needs to be done. Well, they said chiropractor, but I know I need to go to a physical therapist. You don't want to do that. Okay. But don't ask your lawyer to give you medical advice, and be leery, of doctors who give you legal advice. A lot of these doctors recently have been saying do this or do that, or go to this lawyer, or go to that lawyer. It's fine for referrals. We certainly have several doctors that refer us cases, but I would not dare give you medical advice, and be leery of a doctor that's giving you legal advice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. And so I'm looking at the time, and we are about to
almost done. Yeah, okay, that went so fast.
It went really fast. So this will be the last question for the night. It's on trust and estates.
Okay.
So we had a nice little smattering all around. But what is a living will?
Okay. Have you heard the term before, living will?
I've heard of it, but I have to be honest, I don't even know the details myself.
Okay, so living will / advance directive is a document that you would use to give to your doctors so that your medical providers know your wishes regarding if something were to happen to you. Mm-hmm. So what we do with it is, let's say you come to me for a living will. We'll give you a questionnaire with questions like, do you want to be buried or cremated? Do you want to have a funeral or cremation services? Mm-hmm. Do you want to be taken off life support? Mm-hmm. Do you want to have a feeding tube? Do you want to have a first, second, or third opinion before this goes into effect? Do you want somebody to take over if you become mentally incapacitated? Mm-hmm. Just different things like that. So they're all directly related to your healthcare. So they call it living will because you're alive, but you're not able to actually do your own thing regarding your medical issues. Okay. It's not to be confused with the power of attorney. Power of attorney deals with your other business. So your financial affairs, your real estate, your property, paying bills, all that kind of stuff. But this is specifically for medical purposes. Mm-hmm. And I love this. I really didn't know about it until I started practicing law. But once I realized, we actually include those with not include them, but we offer those services with our estate planning services, because you have a will, but if you get sick and I've seen it, one daughter says, Daddy would want to stay on that machine as long as possible. The other daughter says, Daddy would want to be suffering like this. Unplug them. Well, now you got this document where Daddy's telling you what he wants.
Gotcha.
And it's just another thing that you can give your clients, your family, for them to have another added peace of mind. So,
all right. Now, maybe I watched too many dramas, but how does that supersede, I guess, spouses? So say you have, you've created a living will, mm-hmm. you have a spouse, and they don't want to unplug you.
Well, this is the thing. The living will gives direction to the person. So just like you have an executor of a will, in a living will, you can say, I want Nicole Wright Carter, because you're married now, to make decisions about my health care. So what that means is daughter, niece, mama, grandmama, you're going to defer to my wife, but it's presumed that your wife or your husband or whoever you name is going to follow this document that you laid out. Okay. And that can get a little tricky. So you want to pick somebody that's going to follow it, because otherwise you'll be in court, probate, and all that stuff. And that's where we tell people, we don't know your family, so you know who you're dealing with. Don't just pick your spouse because that's your spouse. Mm-hmm. Pick somebody who's going to follow what you want and who's going to be able to do it no matter what everybody else is saying.
Mm-hmm. Which can be tough.
Yes.
Wow.
A lot of people don't even choose their spouse. They may choose a family friend, somebody who's not even related to the family. So especially when those cases when they're pulling the plug, they choose somebody where you're not even having to see them every week at Thanksgiving or Christmas or.
That makes sense.
So.
Wow.
And we can talk more about that if you give us a call.
Okay. Look.
That was somber.
I know. I want another. Did you see me look at this paper? I was like, I need another question.
Well, we can lift up by saying Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Yes, we can. We can. So, again, well, you know what? How about we hand out some information? So that'll put us on an even.
Yes. Awesome. I love it. I love it.
So, Candace referred to the blog that is on Hill Duvernay and Associates website. So it's hillduvernay.com. This we have blog articles that go up. You post what? At least once or twice a month.
Right.
So kind of like this, but in written form, which is great. You know, you can read it, share it with your friends. There was one that was on personal injury. The most recent one was on actual family and custody, holidays.
Yes, please. If y'all are out there looking, go read that about the holiday schedule with co-parenting. I think it's really some of my best work.
But it is. So yeah, so the holidays are coming up, and that can be a very, you know, a crazy time when it comes to having to share your kids for different events. But read it. It's very important. It talks about the importance of the order.
Yes.
See, I read it.
You read it.
I did. So also on the website, you can sign up for the newsletter, which I highly suggest. That includes the blog articles. It includes some other information. It always tells you when the next webcast is coming up and what the topic is going to be, along with the link. So other than that, let's see, the newsletter, Facebook, social media.
Phone number. I'm sorry, I'm old school.
So if you have questions,
yes, 770-692-8481. You can call and schedule an appointment, schedule a consultation, and we can talk more about some of these questions. We're really big on trying to make sure that people feel empowered, which we're really excited about something coming up next year. But happy holidays to all of you all. Yes. Be safe out there. Don't drink and drive. Don't speed. Godspeed, and we'll see you all soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Bye.